Welcome to GLC Grass for Dummies Part 1. Do you have a green thumb? Looking to see live Wo-Chan reactions? Well, today I want to talk through Grass's identity and how to play Grass in GLC. If none of these memes make sense to you, hopefully as I talk through Grass in this video, you'll understand. So, starting off the Grass card pool, I want to begin with a little history. Here's two stadiums, Forest of Giant Plants and Forest of Vitality. Forest of Giant Plants has been banned due to a text saying, during your first turn or turn he or she plays those Pokemon. And so this is really key because now we have Forest Vitality, which says except during the first turn. The stadium is very powerful as it cheats the main mechanic of the game, evolution. With Forest of Vitality, Grass is able to quickly set up its board faster than any evolving deck. And we'll come back later on why this is important for Grass. Going through quickly on some Grass supporting cards. In the Grass card pool, we have now that Pokemon's printed 3 special energies of each type. Grass has Herbal Energy, Aromatic Energy, and Growing Energy. Although none stand out as amazing, Growing Grass has some merit, and Aromatic can be useful for niche situations. Grass also has 2 Gardenia supporters, Gardenia, which heals for 80 HP, and Gardenia's Vigor. Gardenia's Vigor, although it has potential, is very rarely played given other Grass options to accelerate energy that we'll discuss later. Next we have Bug Catching Set and Netball to search for Grass Pokemon and energy. Netball is very important because not only does it allow you to search for basic Pokemon to set up, but it can also serve as an energy search later in the game. And it's also a ball card. So as a ball card, Netball can provide synergy with Ball Guy, providing a very strong option in Grass decks. We also have Revitalizer here, and Revitalizer is an amazing card for Grass as it returns 2 Grass Pokemon into your hand from the discard pile. This is powerful if your basic Pokemon gets knocked out early, or you can also recover combinations of Pokemon like Roselia and Roserade, where you have the basic in stage 1, immediately into your hand, and in conjunction with Forest of Vitality, you can immediately search for anything in your deck. Lastly, Grass also has another unique stadium, Turffield Stadium. Turffield allows you to search for any evolution Grass Pokemon, and this is very powerful given a lot of strong Grass Pokemon are evolutions, which we'll be discussing next. So, starting off, we have Grovyle, Chesnaught, and Grottle. They possess Grass's iconic ability to search for any Grass Pokemon in your deck. In Grottle's case, the ability Sun-Drenched Shell. This is very powerful as you can search for any other Grass Pokemon to set up and attack. Meanwhile, Grass does not have much draw. In the early days, people played Beedrill, which allowed you to bench it if it was the last card in your hand, and lets you draw 3 cards. Sawsbuck with Seasonal Blessing also provides some minimal draw, and it's usually used for slower Grass decks like Control that benefit from building big hand sizes. Recently, people have been opting to draw with Beautifly, which allows you to draw until you have 6 cards in hand. This is Grass's best draw option, but it wasn't always feasible as Grass decks typically play a lot of Pokemon and evolutions that we'll later discuss in example decks. Now we also have Grass's more iconic support card, Roserade, with the Le Parfum ability to allow you to search any card in your deck. This is very possible as a stage 1 to get any card you want in any position, and it's very powerful. One underrated Grass support Pokemon in Grass is Sawsbuck with Changing Seasons ability. As discussed earlier, Grass has 2 very powerful unique stadiums, and there are also other powerful stadiums in GLC, and this Sawsbuck's ability lets you grab any of them on demand. Now for some additional Grass support, we have Acceleration in Grass. Grass has another iconic ability in Energy Doubling. With Venusaur's Jungle Totem and Meganium's Wild Growth, you're able to double the energies from your basic Grass. And so it's worth noting that these abilities do not stack, so if you have both Venusaur and Meganium on your bench, you do not triple or quadruple your energies, but doubling your energies is still strong nonetheless. This allows you to play less energies in your deck. Rillaboom also provides another powerful acceleration effect by grabbing 2 basic energies from your deck and attaching it to one of your Pokemon. This has historically been comboed with Jungle Totem or Wild Growth, as you can accelerate 4 energies in a turn. That's pretty crazy. Charm is also available for lower to the ground decks, as this is a stage 1 and allows you to attach any grass energy from your hand to any of your Pokemon, even the active. So, in the current state of the GLC meta, I think all types should consider how you can take multiple prizes in one turn. Luckily for grass, you have multiple options. Starting off with Chesnaught, although at face value does not say how you can take multiple prizes, it effectively can take a prize on your opponent's turn if they attack into it while you have enough energies attached. We got Dustox here with the ancient trait ability Delta Plus, where if Dustox is able to take a knockout, you can take an extra prize. Although its attack flap for 1 grass hitting for 20 and Wind Shard 1 grass and 2 colorless sniping for 50 are quite underwhelming. Dustox can be comboed with technical machines like TM Blindside and TM Crisis Punch to take multiple prizes. Grass also has multiple attacking options in Jump Bluff and Dipland, where these have the ability to attack twice per turn, providing 2 opportunities to take prizes. Lastly, and most importantly, there's Wo-Chen. I think Wo-Chen is Grass's best attacker. Hazardous Greed for 1 grass and 1 colorless does 20 damage, but if you have 3 or less cards in your deck, you can snipe 2 bench Pokemon for 120. This allows you to potentially have a 3 prize turn. In addition, we'll discuss later on how getting to 3 cards in deck is very doable for grass. Finally, I want to call out some core cards in grass. Bench Barrier is a very important ability, and I think it's worth calling out if any type has access to it. I also firmly believe the strongest strategies in GLC have the option to target the bench, so Shaman is a non-negotiable addition to grass decks. Next is Gladion. Because grass has so many Pokemon evolution lines, you'll often hear grass players complain about Pokemon being prized. As such, Gladion provides an option to grab a key piece from your prizes. But hold up, we got a yellow card, or redeemable ticket. Recently printed in Journey Together, redeemable ticket provides an option to shuffle your prizes into the bottom of your deck and replace the prizes with cards from the top of your deck. You may be thinking to yourself, well, if I'm replacing prize cards with a deck, you might be shuffling cards into the prizes that are very important. However, what's powerful with grass is it has such good Pokemon search that you are able to grab all the important Pokemon you need. So when you play redeemable ticket, you will only be shuffling in cards that are more easily played around. In addition, the downside of Gladion is it's a supporter. This is very crucial against aggressive matchups where you may not have the tempo to take a turn to play your supporter as Gladion. As such, I think redeemable ticket is an essential card for grass. Now you may be thinking to yourself, where's Badoo? Badoo's so good in Standard, why is it not being discussed as an essential card in GLC? Well, in GLC, I do not believe Badoo is a reasonable option to slow down your opponent. Most aggressive decks in GLC, like Colorless with Fan Rotom and Fighting with Solrock, put too much pressure when you are unable to buy time. Grass just wants to set up its board. Typically, it plays more evolutions with more HP than any other type. As such, I think giving up a prize to item lock for 1 turn is not worth it. I firmly believe any tankier grass Pokemon is better in GLC. Now that was a lot of information on the grass card pool. To summarize the strengths and weaknesses, we got grass is very strong at searching out Pokemon. Grass also has very strong stadiums that can help search for these Pokemon, and grass also has a very strong line in Torterra and Grotle. Grotle with the Sun-Drenched Shell ability can search for any grass Pokemon to help with your setup, and once you are set up, Torterra is a very powerful attacker. Torterra here with the Evo Press attack for grass and a colorless does 50x for each of your evolution Pokemon in play, and as discussed, within grass decks you'll be playing a lot of evolution Pokemon. Meanwhile, grass is very weak to prizing. As you play a lot of stage 2 Pokemon, that results in more opportunities to prize a Pokemon within the line. Grass also has a very poor card draw outside of Beautifly, and as discussed with Grass's abilities, Grass heavily relies on them for like energy acceleration through Meganium, Rillaboom, and Cherim, making it weak to Hex Maniac. So now that we've talked through some of the unique cards in Grass, I want to walk through some example Grass decks. Starting off with an example deck, we got Rillasaur by Mike Gibbs, who won the Fusion Strike 1K back in 2021. So this was played before the release of Sundrenched Shell Grottle. So he played both Grovyle and Chesnaught to search out his grass Pokemon. However, it keeps the mainstay combo of an Energy Doubler, Venusaur in this case, and Rillaboom to set up attackers like Sceptile, Shining Genesect, and Zarude. This has typically been seen as a very beginner-friendly deck due to the nature of evolving your Pokemon with these powerful abilities and just attacking. It's worth noting too that at the time that this deck was played, Hex Maniac was not as prevalent. Only 3 of the top 8 decks played Hex Maniac, compared to the most recent Pitch Black 3K, where all 8 decks in top 8 played the card. Here's my rendition on how I update Rillasaur for the current GLC. As you can see, you switch out Venusaur now for the newer Meganium due to having a stronger attack, and the pre-evolution Bayleaf being 90 HP and also having a stronger attack. In addition, you have Celebi's 80 HP, which allows it to survive the aggressive attacks of Fanrotom and Solrock, hitting for 70, while also giving the option to grab a Stadium, like Forest Vitality, which we discussed earlier. I also want to note that Tapu Bulu is this deck's option to hit hard with just a basic Pokemon. And with Muscle Band, you can even knock out a Wailord. Also, I've added Wo-Chien as discussed earlier, being the best attacker in Grass, providing a comeback potential. This deck lacks card draw, which has historically been a problem. So you may be wondering, how will I get to 3 or less cards in my deck? Well, as discussed earlier, Grass has amazing Pokemon search. If you search out all of your Pokemon, that's 15 cards out of your deck. With 7 cards in your starting hand and 6 in the prizes, that leaves you with about 28, 29, 30 cards in deck. And in addition, Rillaboom attaches energy from your deck, so that means those 7 grass energies will easily be thin, leaving about 20 to 24 cards in your deck. And so what I've done here is I've placed powerful draw supporters like Professor's Research, Colress, and Erica's Hospitality. This is reminiscent of fighting before the rocks were released, where you would be able to play more supporters than any other type to replicate a draw ability and aim to chain supporters each turn. As this deck typically runs out of cards in hand, I've also added Rose Tower to provide an option to get more gas. Although 3 cards isn't much, it can help you try to draw onto that supporter and draw through more of your deck. Next, Aeroplume by Team Turbo Blaze. This is the list piloted by Ethan Whitney at the Perfect Order 3K, where he finished within the top 4. This deck is an aggressive update to the control deck Eggmill, focusing on Executor's blockade attack, preventing the opponent from playing supporters, while Vileplume sits on the bench preventing both players from playing items. As with most grass decks, the weakness of this deck is setting up and prizing. This deck also plays Badoo and Venomoth to item lock your opponent early until you set up that Vileplume, and ultimately preventing your opponent from ever playing items the rest of the game. If you're interested in this deck, check the link below for Team Turbo Blaze's primer on this deck. On to another Team Turbo Blaze creation, we have Fast Grass. This deck focuses on speeding through the deck with Beautifly and attacking with Wo-Chien as soon as possible. Key things to note are that this deck only plays 3 supporters. With a heavy emphasis on items and Pokestop, you also have multiple Devolution cards that combo with Forest of Vitality. With these Devolution cards, you're able to evolve Pokemon like Roserade or Beautifly, and immediately evolve again to use the ability. As this name may suggest, you're going fast with Grass. Next is a deck from my local card shop, Quick Evo Grass, and this deck looks to abuse the Adaptive Evolution ability from Caterpie, Metapod, Scatterbug, and Spupa. This allows you to immediately evolve into a Stage 2 Pokemon without Forest of Vitality, even on the first turn. This is powerful as Butterfree can attack for as much as 240. You play Pokemon with no retreat costs like Nimble and Kartana that allow you to switch into that Butterfree and attack early. In addition, Rescue Scarf is powerful, as when the Pokemon this tool is attached to is knocked out, you return all that Pokemon's line back into your hand. This means when Butterfree or Vivillon are knocked out, you are able to re-bench the entire line immediately and get back to attacking. Now we have a recent grass deck from the Full Grip Games meta with Chesnaught. I wanted to talk through this deck last as it's quite similar to my current grass build, and I wanted to talk through the key differences for my deck and why I believe the changes are more impactful. We both landed on Grotle, Beautifly, and Roserade as the main engine to the deck, and topping it off with Wo-Chien as a finisher. This deck focuses on setting up your evolution Pokemon like Chesnaught and Torterra to take knockouts by being powered up by the Cherrim. However, for key differences I play outside of the fundamental Pokemon like Chesnaught and Cherrim I play Iron Leaves over Tropius. Tropius hitting as a revenge attacker for 120 is quite abysmal in the current meta, leading to, I think, the reason why he plays Muscle Band, just so you can knock out certain Pokemon. I firmly believe Muscle Band is not necessary in Grass though, due to the insane damage output Torterra can put, and leading to an additional card in your deck. The deck also used to play Dawn over Ball Guy, which felt counterintuitive to Wo-Chien because Ball Guy thins out 3 cards from your deck, in addition to searching out the 3 Pokemon. This deck also used to exclude Artisan, which I believe is imperative for Grass in setting up, and it also used to exclude Silent Lab, which is important for Wo-Chien's attack to clean up the game. So moving on to my Grass deck, I wanted to share what I had revealed in the previous video on how to beat aggressive decks. This deck was initially built to take advantage of Dawn, and with the rise of RDT, counteract that. In my mind, it's powerful to play out your hand with Dawn and Forest of Vitality to set up Beautifly and immediately draw up 6 cards. Naturally, this led me to Wo-Chien as the best attacker in Grass, providing a multi-prize option, and when Psychic was extremely strong a year ago, and even now, a way to skip that 3-prize turn against Blacephalon. Meganium also allows you to play less energies in your deck compared to a typical Grass deck, as they are doubled, and so that provided more opportunities to fit other cards in this deck. In addition, I'm playing the Changing Seasons Sauce Book, as it holds the deck together to set up however necessary. If you still need basics, it can search out Artisan. If you have a slower hand and need evolutions, you can search out Turffield, and that can search out Grotle. And lastly, if you already have some of these evolutions and Pokemon in your hand, you can search out for Forest of Vitality. And with that, you're able to set up very quickly based off of the stadiums in your cards pool. And then from there, with these stadiums, as mentioned, you can get Grotle or Roserade, and that puts it together so you're able to ultimately grab your Beautifly and Torterra. And just at that point, it's cash money, right? You got Torterra, Beautifly, your Grass deck is ready to go and start taking over the game. So, as you can see here in key inclusions, we have the Guzma Hala package, which lets you set up faster through Technical Machine Evolution, and this lets you evolve to your Stage 2 Pokemon as early as your second turn, if you open it as a 1-card option. I see a lot of cards omit TM Evolution, and I find it hard to believe given how strong your evolutions are. A TM Evolution play into any combination of Grotle, Saucebook, or Silcoon is extremely powerful on the first turn, and provides a strong setup for the following turn to allow for these explosive plays. The tag team cards are also powerful because they can clean up your hand by giving you an outlet to discard cards and refresh with more cards with Beautifly. I also include Counter Catcher and Counter Gain, along with Counter Energy as discussed in my previous video, as this is an evolving deck, and that would mean you'd go behind, and these provide powerful effects to regain tempo against aggressive decks. I also wanted to call out Lusamine. As discussed about Grass's strategy, Grass has very strong stadiums. Lusamine provides an opportunity to grab Forest of Vitality to replay a knocked out evolution Pokemon immediately, and also reuse Silent Lab, which negatively impacts decks like Colorless and Fighting with strong abilities on basics, and provides an answer for Okidogi, which would typically require a fully set up board in combination with Torterra's Evo Press Attack for 250. Silent Lab also shuts off bench barrier, which is very important at the end of the game when you're trying to attack with Wo-Chen. So for closing thoughts, and just for any of you that have made it this far, I just want to say thanks for watching this video. Hopefully this provided a high level understanding of how to play grass in GLC. For any of the lists mentioned earlier, there will be limitless links to the deck list below. I fully believe grass is one of the best decks in your current GLC meta, with favorable matchups into aggressive decks like Fighting and Colorless right now, and with the comeback potential of Wo-Chen. I truly believe Wo-Chen is the best attacker in grass, and maybe even in GLC. Not many decks are able to answer a fully set up grass board with Torterra and Beautifly, let alone if it's set up by turn 2. As long as Forest of Vitality is legal, I believe grass will be a powerhouse type in Gym Leader Challenge. Thank you.